Hello, everybody. Today on Divorce Explained, we are discussing surviving the holiday season during divorce. It's me, Steve Benmor, and I'm here with my colleague, Leanne Townsend, and we are inches away from the holiday season. And of course, we divorce lawyers, mediators, and arbitrators, we're going to be taking some time off with our family and away from our offices and away from the hectic nature of our lives. But just because we do does not mean that the families that we serve are on holidays from their divorce. And we thought it would be a very smart idea for us to give some preemptive early tips on how to survive this divorce season, which is really the holiday season during divorce. But let's be frank, if you're going through a divorce and it's December, the thing that is front and center in your mind is your personal situation, your children, the holidays, parties, festivities, people asking you, how are things at home? People at home asking how to get over this period of time, which is very uncomfortable. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how to survive your holiday season during your divorce.
So first off, I think that anyone going through divorce when the holiday season hits, I think that it's important that they acknowledge to themselves that this is probably going to be hard, that there's going to be some, there's going to be a whole range of feelings, and some of them are going to be, things like sadness and feelings of grieving and loss because, perhaps you've had these holiday traditions as a family unit for years and years and years, and now that's going to change. And so I think you don't want to deny, a person doesn't want to deny that they're going to be having, some of these negative feelings. It's realistic to expect that this is going to happen. And so you want to ensure that you have a support network in place to help you with that, whether that's a therapist, whether that's a coach, whether it's just your friends, whether it's, family members other than your children, but people who you can rely on to give you some emotional support as you approach the holidays. And as part of that, I think it's good to be proactive. So knowing that it's probably going to be challenging and there's going to be some difficult emotional situations and feelings, you want to have a plan in place well beforehand of what you're going to do and how you're going to manage the holidays. And that can be things like having social engagements set up with, family and friends. And it certainly should include having a plan in place with your former spouse as to where the children are going to be, how that schedule is going to look over the holidays, because parenting schedules usually don't follow the regular parenting plan. When we reach the holiday point, there's usually some differences. And so you want to have that worked out well in advance so that everyone is clear on what's going to be happening.
A lot of people forget that every family is different. Every family has a different routine. Every family has children of different ages, if they have children at all. And so some of the tips that we're going to be giving today, they may not make sense to your situation, but we're going to give you a whole bunch of different ideas and tips that we have seen work successfully for people, because we've actually heard people come back to us in January and tell us how it went. And after many, many years of hearing the feedback that we get from our clients over the years on how the month of December was, we've developed an understanding of what works and what doesn't work. And so let's just start with the obvious, which is, what do you do when you have children? And what do you do if you don't have children? So for those people that are going through this divorce season with children, and when I use the word children, I mean under the age of 18. Those children will likely either be in daycare or in school in the normal school year. But then the holidays make those schools or potentially daycare close. And so the very first thing that you want to do is you want to look at the calendar and go, okay, when is my last day of work? When is the child's last day of school? When is my next day back at work? When is the child's next day back at school? Now do the same thing for your spouse and start mapping out the parts of this analysis that are unnegotiable. In other words, you know when the school is closing, you know when you have to be at work, you know when you stop working, you know when your spouse might stop working. Some people work from home, but they still have to work when they work from home. Some people take their time off altogether and they could be at home. Now, think about the other thing that doesn't generally change. In other words, your family situation. It may be that Auntie Sue always hosts Christmas dinner. And it may be that your future former partner, like your ex-husband or your ex-wife, that their family always has everybody over for Boxing Day lunch. So when you start thinking about the things that are sort of baked in to the life of the family, start mapping that out. And when I say map it, I don't mean just think it. I mean like literally write it down and start closing in on what parts of this require planning, because not everything requires planning. And then the parts of it that are open to discussion and that require planning, well, that is now an invitation to the other parent. And that can serve as, first of all, quite frankly, a really lovely opportunity to begin your divorce on the right footing. So rather than saying, although we always go to your family for Christmas, this year, I'm taking the kids with me to my family. That sort of commentary does not start the process well. And so whether you're working with a divorce lawyer or a divorce coach, the message about planning and the invitation within the message about planning is really important. It can actually not only influence the holiday, it could influence the entire trajectory of the divorce. And so you start by sort of painting the outside lines of this season, painting some of the pre-developed routines within it, and whether that also might include going to church or going skiing or going up north, whatever that might be. Start building all of that into this chart that might be as short as 1 week or as long as 3 weeks. And then use that as an opportunity to reach out to the other spouse and say, what do you think? And you might be surprised by the answer that you get, because you might be inclined to say, this is what I want. And it's been my experience that that approach tends to result in disappointment. But the approach of inviting collaboration tends to increase the likelihood of success, both during the holiday season and after. It increases the children's comfort and happiness during the period of the holiday. And it also allows you to save time and money in being able to plan things accordingly.
And when you're making these plans, it's really important to, I think it should go without saying, but to focus on what is in the best interest of your children, prioritizing their holiday experience. And that's a common goal that you and your former partner should both have. So that can be the basis of coming up with something that's cooperative. And it really, as Steve touched upon, it shouldn't be this, tit for tat type approach. It should be about, what's best for the kids and how can we create something that is, good for everybody. And for something like that, I can even just draw on my own personal experience. As many of you know, I'm divorced. I've been divorced for many years. My children were very, very young when their father and I split up. And my ex-husband happens to come from a very large family who's local. And so on Christmas for dinner, they have a big family dinner with, cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents, and everybody brings food, and it's a lovely dinner and a lovely celebration. And I, on the other hand, both my parents are deceased and my brother lives in New Brunswick. So I don't have family here other than my children. And so when it comes to Christmas, and it just so happened that my ex-husband and I, we come from the same religion. We had the same practices. So for us, Christmas dinner is generally a big deal. It's where we celebrate. And I could have been very much like, well, I'm going to be alone on Christmas dinner, and why are my children going with their dad's family all the time? But I took the approach that they love to be with their cousins who are around their age. They love to see their grandparents. They love to have that be a part of that dinner. And so does it really matter to me if I, instead make traditions and create something on Christmas Eve, and they're with me Christmas morning, and they're with me Christmas Day till like after lunch? I have them for a good period of time. But I made the decision that every year, we didn't alternate it, every year they've gone to their dad's for Christmas dinner. And it's because I know that my children love to be a part of this big family experience. And so me giving them that, or giving my ex-husband, as some people might look at it, that, I didn't really feel like I'm giving something up on my part. I'm just modifying and creating new traditions for myself with my children so that they can have, the best of both worlds. And so I think it's really important for people to be creative, put the children interests first, and use it as an opportunity to create new customs, new traditions that are exciting and fun for the children and for yourself, and find a way of making things work for everybody.
Smarter judges than us have said before, no child will decline 2 Christmases. And so in a divorced family, it's common for children to have 2 Christmases, 2 Christmas trees, 2 sets of presents, 2 different moments to celebrate with their parents in a different way or in the same way. And so I'd like to now talk about, what do you do during the holiday season if your children are adults, or if you don't have children at all? It's a different plan. And so unlike the original plan that I described, when the children are either adults or you don't have children at all, some might think, well, that's a lot easier. Well, yes and no, because as much as it may be easier because you don't have to make plans regarding minor children, you certainly do have to make plans regarding your heart. And the holiday season, the last 2 weeks of December, early January, are an opportunity for a lot of people to have private time. And when you're going through separation and divorce, it's a difficult time. It's a time where you feel emptiness, where you feel despondent, where you feel that this is not the life that you thought you wanted. And that period of self-reflection could actually be a very difficult time. And in those difficult moments, somebody could ruminate and allow themselves to become very depressed, maybe even anxious. And in those situations, people could reach for something that's self-destructive: alcohol, drug use, self-harm. And so I say this with tremendous genuineness and sincerity, that being alone during your holiday season while going through separation and divorce could be a dangerous time. And in that dangerous time, it is absolutely necessary to install supports. And those supports could be ensuring that you are with others. It could mean that you are away, doing something busy, active. It could mean that you've established a number of projects that you have convinced yourself need to be finished by a certain day, whether that's cleaning out your cupboard or reorganizing your photo album or writing a journal that you've been wanting to, or finishing those 3 books that have been sitting on your night table. Whatever it is, I strongly recommend that if you're not busy entertaining and keeping your children busy during the holiday season, because maybe you don't have children or they're adults, make sure you are mentally busy, and where possible, also be physically busy, and allow nature to be part of your holiday season. Get out there, even if it means bundling up and walking out in the snow and in the cold. Nature is a really important part of maintaining equilibrium, emotionally and mentally. And also find friends and family. And if there's going to be a time in your life where you want to call in favors, now's the time. Say to your friends and family, I don't know how I'm going to survive this Christmas holiday. I really need your help. I really need you to check in on me. I really need you to keep me busy. I really need you to invite me out, whatever that means. If you're going grocery shopping and I know it's boring, bring me with you, because I would rather walk up and down the aisles at Metro than be at home and ruminating and being sad and falling into a depressive state. So call in those favors, because you do not want to allow yourself to fall into a dark hole during the holiday season.
So, Stephen, I hope that these tips have been helpful for those of you out there who are going through divorce. We know that the holiday season is a difficult time for many of you. So hopefully some of these strategies can be of use to you. On behalf of Steve and myself, I want to wish you all the best for the holidays and all the best for the new year. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody.